Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. My name's Max and today I'm very excited about showing you 3 different art projects that you can do that are both easy and fun, and you're gonna love them. I know you are. I know I am. So cringe. So to start with today, we're gonna be making blob creatures. Clay is a very fun medium to work with, but it genuinely requires some sort of skill to be able to produce good results. Unless, of course, you're creating blob creatures, which are my favourite thing to create because I can do stuff even though I'm bad. You can like make so many different characters and designs with blobs, and you can paint them like cool colours and stuff. And it's just a fun little project that you can do. Today I'm going to be making 3 different blobs and showing you the process of how I made them. Each blob is going to be themed after a different type of fruit, and this one is a grape. The amount of clay I used was quite small for each one. They were like little minifigure sized, and they were very simple designs. I just pulled out some clay at the sides and smoothed it round to make the arms. And then to make the facial features, I just used my nails to make some little dents for the eyebrows, and then a pencil to make some eyes. I also gave him a fruit, which is a grape, and he's holding it, and I gave him a little topper as well. First thing I did was just cover him with a light pastel purple. Once it was dry, I got a much darker purple and used that to add shading to any areas where there might be shadows and also underneath him. But then I realised that looked a bit whack, so I just made him all that colour. It was still quite light though, and after that I just got a even darker shade of purple to do the shading with, and because he was wet I could blend out the colours a lot better. And I painted his little topper green, and his little grape was the darkest colour of purple, and then I gave him little white juicy highlights as well. Our next little fruit friend was a banana. I made him a little taller than the last one, and a little bit thinner as well. For his arms, I tore off separate bits of clay and smoothed them down instead of tearing them off him himself, because I wanted to keep him very cylindrical and smooth. For his little doppelganger to hold, I took quite a while on this for some reason, even though it's so tiny, but I gave him a banana, obviously, and I made another sort of banana shaped thing to have as his little hat topper thing. And I gave him eyes like I did last time with pencil, and I made him very serious looking. He's a serious banana. His name is Sebastian. Sebastian the serious banana. Just like last time, I started by painting him a pale shade of yellow all over. And yet again, I used a darker shade of yellow for all of the shading. However, this time I was happy with him and I just used a lighter shade for all the blending, and I didn't need to go over him again with different colours. I made his banana and his banana hat a very dark shade of, well no, a medium shade of yellow, but it's quite dark compared to the rest of him. And I gave him some little blobs and little glistening things as little details and accents, and I coloured his eyes in darker as well. I also decided to repaint his topper green to match the others. Our next fruit friend is Pedro the pear. Pedro was a little different. He was wider rather than taller, and he was very spread out. His arms were put quite low down on him so that they made him more bulky looking. I don't know why, pears aren't that bulky, but I just felt like spicing it up a bit. He was very short, and he didn't have a lot of face space, but I tried to add a bit of height with a massive leaf
which didn't really work because, as you can see, that leaf is about as big as he is and there's no way that's going to fit there. So instead I just added a big clump to his head to make his face a bit bigger. That way there'd be more face space. Anyway, face space? Okay, face space, that's the new thing. And because of this face space, I could add 2 massive protruding eyes to give him the desired shocked expression. He is just absolutely horrified, this little man. And again, I just painted him with a pale green colour. This time I left his eyes white. I still got a bit of green on them. We all make mistakes. I'm sure I'll forgive myself. But his green was darker, I think, than the other two. I used quite a lot of green for that one. I think the blending for him was easier than all the others because his face was more spread out. And also I'd had some time to practice, so I'd perfected the technique of adding more paint on instead of trying to blend it with dry paint, because that does not really work. After that I got an even darker green to paint his little leaf and his little pear. I also made his eyes white again, because they had definitely lost a bit of definition. And I also added his little spot details like the others have, and his little white highlights.
And the next thing is even easier than making blobs out of clay. Painting rocks. Rocks can be found like pretty much anywhere. Most people have access to rocks. Painting on those rocks is great because you can paint anything. It's like a canvas, but like round. And you can make it as easy or hard as you want, which is another thing that I love because it's something everyone can do, even if you're like super skilled. And you can like leave them around places. I know that was a trend a while ago, painting rocks and like leaving them places in the woods and stuff. So I'm gonna make 3 different rock designs and I'm gonna leave them around the woods. We love the woods.
I chose 3 relatively flat stones, as flat as I could find, and I had 3 different ideas of what I wanted to do based on the 3 type of rocks that I see most of the time. The first one is just a pattern, the second was an actual picture, and the third was a slogan. The first thing I did was paint them all white to cover up the rock colour underneath. I wanted the background colour of the pattern one to be white anyway, so I gave it an extra coat just to finish it off. And then I started putting on my pattern, and it was like a mandala sort of looking thing, but I used every colour of the rainbow on every different section of it. First I did dots, then I did stars, and each layer was separated by a rainbow gradient stripe. I also made a line pattern where they went across and then up, and then another pattern with dots that was just a bit bigger. Turning to the back, I gave it another rainbow outline, and then I wrote my username in it so that if anyone finds it, they can find me on Instagram. I then varnished it to keep it protected. And here it is, finished. I really like it. It took quite a long time to make, even though it's very simple, because I had to wait for the paint to dry over and over again. But on to the next one. This one is the pictures, or the sort of more traditional art design. For this, I reused an old pattern that I came up with a while ago that I didn't really execute very well, but I liked the idea of. It's basically just oranges, lemons and limes sliced up and overlapping. I really like the look of this, I like the colour combinations, but the last time I did it was on the picture frame. I'm not sure if you saw that video, but it didn't go as I'd hoped for it to go, so I thought I'd recreate it on this stone. After I painted a pastel base colour for all of the fruit, I went and added the rind, or the skin, whatever it's called, in a darker colour that was still quite pale, but it was pretty dark. And then I added the little white stringy bits. I'm not sure what those are called either, but I think that those details made it look really good. And then I varnished it as well. And here it is, finished. I absolutely love this one. This one's my favourite out of all of them. I just love the colours on it. And finally we have our slogan. So for this one I painted a rainbow across the stone, and then I blended all the colours together to make a gradient. The colours did get a little bit muddy, but I did this on both sides for the background of my slogan. I used white paint to write on it my slogan, which was "After a storm comes a rainbow," which I don't completely agree with, but it's a slogan that I know that incorporates rainbows, which I wanted to use. So there you go, and again on the back I wrote my username and stuff, and covered it with varnish. I know that one went by really quickly, but this one took me so long to make. Blending all the colours together was quite hard, but I do like the look of it after all. And here are all three of them next to each other. I love all of them.
And the final thing of the day, maybe not an easy one, but certainly one that you can do if you don't own art materials. Making soap carvings. I know this sounds weird, but I did this once. I used to be part of the Scouts, and when I was like a little itty bitty scout, they wouldn't let me have knives for some reason. So I got a butter knife and some soap instead of a pen knife and some wood. And they were like, do some whittling with this soap. And so I did that. It was quite fun. I made a little fox. It was ugly. I was like 7 or something. But you just need a butter knife and a bar of soap. Most people have those things. So you should have fun with that.
So, soap carving. What an experience this was. Soap, turns out, it isn't as common as I thought it was. No one buys bars of soap anymore. And I'm not surprised, because they feel really nasty when you're washing your hands with them. But that was a struggle. I had to delay filming for a day because I couldn't find any soap. And then I did find this soap, and it was very heavily branded. Like, it was logoed all over it, so I had to scrape the whole thing clean before I started recording because I didn't want to get, like, I don't know, sued or whatever. And catching the little shavings was really hard too. I used a variety of utensils, but I ended up using my little sticker pot thing that I normally put my stickers in. It was okay. I decided that I was going to do a space theme, and I was going to make a crescent moon and a star. As you can see, I'm making the crescent moon now. It was actually, the carving itself wasn't hard at all. I used a butter knife that was just like a ordinary, well, not a butter knife, like a eating knife, a dining knife, a knife, I don't know, a knife, and it was pretty easy, but it hurt my hands quite a lot because I've got really weak hands anyway. It was satisfying though. Yeah, it was okay. It was fine, I guess. On a more positive note, I suppose for beginners such as myself, the medium of soap would be a lot easier to work with than wood, because you're not gonna slice your hands open because it's very soft, and you can even use the back of the knife. I used that to smooth out edges. But it's, yeah, soap's so soft you can just cut it with the back of a knife. And with wood you have to use sharp things that you can amputate digits with. The star was a little trickier because it has all its little spiky bits to it. And I always, when drawing stars, I always mess up the different proportions of the spiky bits. So I knew I'd get it wrong, but I tried really hard to make it like proportionate. It didn't quite work though. It was very repetitive because there's a lot of little dips in it. It was an interesting experience. That's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed the video and made something yourself. If you want me to turn this into a series, I'd be happy to. I've got loads more ideas. If we get 10 likes on this video, then I will make an episode 2. See you next time.